Hi, third graders, and welcome to our very last mini lesson of third grade writing and social studies. Today we are going to look at 3 things to wrap up our historical figures research project and to prepare us for Wax Museum tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into those because it's going to take us just a little bit and I want to make this as fast as I can. The first thing I want to talk to you about today is making your notes for tomorrow's presentation. In our Zoom call on Thursday, we talked about making sure we are speaking in first person, and a lot of you remembered what that meant. You even remembered last year when you came to the third grade Wax Museum that as the characters stood or sat in their position, and when you came up and pushed their button, they began to speak. They spoke pretending like they were the person. So your presentation tomorrow for our Wax Museum needs to be using the words I, me, my. You are speaking as yourself, pretending like you are this character. So today you need to look at how you want to make that presentation. You need to look at your report and you need to pull the most important facts from that report that you want to present to our class during your presentation. So there's a couple of things I want you to think about and include in your notes, and then I'm going to give you some examples of what you can do. Okay, these are a couple of things I want you to remember as you prepare your notes today. A lot of you have already asked me if you can just use your report for your notes, and yes, that is fine. But these are the main things you're going to want to include in your presentation. So make sure these things are in your report. Maybe go ahead and highlight these things in case your report is extra long and you're not going to need your entire information. Make sure you have these things. Okay, as I told you on Thursday during our Zoom call, there are a lot of different ways you can do your notes, and I don't care how you do it. You may print off your final draft report and highlight the parts that you want to say in your presentation. Some of you may have a short enough report and you feel like it matches everything I just showed you in that list, and you may just want to use that as your notes, and that's okay. Make sure it is in first person. Some of you did not write your final draft in first person, and that's okay. You need to go back and change it. You need to cross out that person's, anytime you said, trying to think of an example. You need to look at your final draft and you need to make sure you change it to hi, my name is, or I was born in, instead of saying she or he. You need to change it to first person if you have not done that already. Some of you may want to actually make your own notes, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. You might come up with a different idea, and that's fine. Just make sure it's organized, just make sure it's in first person, and just make sure you have it ready with you during our Wax Museum presentation. You could do Post-it notes. You could, I know somebody has already printed off their final draft and just cut it into sections. That's a great idea. I did index cards, and so today I want to show you my example. You do not have to do it exactly like me. I just want you to have an example of what this could look like to help you as you make your own today so that it's ready for presentations tomorrow. Okay, let me show you my examples. Mine ended up with 5 or 6 cards. You'll notice that some of the cards only have one sentence on it, and I did that to help me stay organized. Instead of fitting it all on one card just so I save cards, I felt like I needed to organize it a little bit differently. So I used 5 or 6 cards. I numbered my cards so that I would make sure they're in order when I give my presentation. And then I made sure that I used first person. So hi, my name is Mildred Didrikson Zacharias. I was born in June 1911 in Texas. I preferred to keep my hair short and wear pants so that I could race and jump and play ball with the kids in my neighborhood. They began calling me babe after I hit 5 home runs in one game. So notice how I wrote my piece or my notes in first person. Also, you can see that I've used paragraphs to help me stay organized. I moved on to a new card when I was ready to talk about something totally different, kind of like I would if I was using a new paragraph. So moving on to a new topic, moving on to a new part, moving on to a new year. This one I think is my shortest card because it talks just about one little part of her life and it didn't really have anything to do with anything else, and it was a totally new year in her life, so I made that a short and sweet card. The last parts of her life and my wrap up when she died. There's not really much else to say. Okay, so that is one example of how you could do your notes. Again, you could make these on Post-it notes. You could make these on printed out and cut it into sections. You could make this your final draft and just highlight the sections that you want. Very quickly, here's another example of what you could do with your final draft. It does look a little bit messier, so make sure you're going to be able to keep track of what you're trying to tell us in your presentation. But look where I have changed everything to first person. So instead of saying her or she, I changed it to I or me or my. And then I pretended like I was introducing myself, not talking about somebody else. So instead of down there at the bottom, instead of saying Babe Didrikson Zaharias reached her goal, I would say I reached my goal. And then I introduced myself by saying, hi, my name is, I am this character. So I want to pretend like I am her. And then I got out my highlighter and I highlighted the parts that I think are really going to be necessary for my presentation. I don't know that the rest of this introduction is necessary for presenting who I was and my accomplishments in our wax museum. It's great for my introduction in a writing piece. I just don't know if it's needed for our wax museum. So I may go back and look at that, and that's fine. But for right now, I know I need to introduce myself and I need to tell her achievements. And so I'm going to just highlight from there on. So that's another example of what you could do with your final draft. Okay, last thing on your notes, you need to make sure that they are prepared and ready and sitting beside you before you join the Zoom call for Wax Museum on Tuesday. We talked about this on Thursday in our Zoom call, so in case you were not there, we are going to have visitors to this Zoom call, and we want this to be very professional. You need to be seated in the position that you want to be in during the entire Wax Museum. It's not going to be a super long time. It'll be 25 minutes, just like our normal Zoom calls. So make sure you have gone to the restroom and get a drink. Take care of everything you need. Most importantly, make sure that you have everything you want or need during the Wax Museum right beside you. This is not time to have a snack with you, and this is not time to have water with you. Leave those somewhere else. You can get them as soon as we are done. We want to be very professional, and if this was a normal wax museum, you would not have those things with you until it was time for a break, and our Zoom call is going to be so fast you won't need a break. So leave all of those things somewhere else. Bring with you your props, your costumes, your poster boards, and your notes. Okay. With your notes, as it is your turn to present, make sure that you have practiced and decided a good place to have your notes. Yes, you may use them. Yes, you may read them. No, you do not have to have this memorized. But when it's your turn to present, and I call your name, Clara Barton, please don't put your notes up here to read. Please find a good place where, yes, you can look at them. Hi, my name is Mildred Didrikson Zaharias. I was born on June 1911 in Texas. As a young girl, I preferred to keep my hair short and wear pants so that I could run and jump and race and play ball with the kids in my neighborhood. Do you notice how I'm looking back and forth? I had my thumb where I needed to be. on my spot to help me keep track. But don't put your notes right here. We want to see you, the character you. We're having to do this on a screen. We're not in front of you in the classroom like you were when my Wax Museum characters last year. So we want to be able to enjoy this as much as possible. So don't put your notes in front of you. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is your props, your posters, and how to choose a good position for your character during Wax Museum. If you remember last year when you came and visited Wax Museum, each character was in a different area in the rooms, in the 3 classrooms. Most of them were standing in a position, frozen, so that when you came up and pushed their button, they came to life and then they gave you their presentation. We're going to have to do it just a little bit different. I am not going to expect you to stand for 20 minutes in one position frozen waiting for your turn. If you missed the Zoom call on Thursday, I told you that I am going to have everybody's character's name in a cup. And when I draw your character out of the cup, it will be your turn to come to life and give your presentation. That does not mean you have to stay frozen. For Mildred Zacharias, who is one of the most famous golfers, my what I'm going to show you in a second, my prop is a golf club, and I'm imagining her swinging because part of my presentation talks about how she practiced for 5 and 6 hours a day. She would hit 1,000 balls a day. So my head, my frozen character is swinging a golf club. It's a really long time to stand swinging a golf club while we listen to other presentations. And I want to be able to listen to the other presentations on the Zoom call. So for Tuesday, you may find a place to sit, and you may sit quietly. Just make sure you have your props and your cards ready. And so then when I call your name out of the cup, Babe Zacharias, if you want to stay sitting and we can see your character and your props or whatever, if you can stay sitting and hold a poster and we can still see you and hear you, great, that's fine. If you have been planning and practicing and wanting to stand up with your character, that is fine too. I need you to practice that. I need you to make sure you can do that in your video camera with your iPad. So just one night or maybe Monday, stand up your iPad and make sure that when you stand up with your props, we can still see you. And it is fine if you want to do that. Okay, so let me show you a couple of things I've thought of and give you an idea of what this is going to look like on a screen. Okay, so your first option is to stay seated. Make sure that you are choosing a very quiet place in your house. I talked to you the other day about realizing the TV was on behind me, and even though it was silent, it was distracting because the colors were bright and I knew y'all would be looking at the TV, not at your mini lesson. So make sure you're choosing a good place in your home where there will be no distractions. No brothers and sisters trying to come up and talk to you. No extra noise in the background. Remember, we're having visitors. This is not our normal 3rd grade Zoom call. This is a presentation call. We need it to be very quiet and no distractions for you or for the other friends on the call giving their presentations. Make sure you have everything needed. So if you look at my desk right now, I have my 2 props that I want and my notes. And it's all right here in front of me. Okay, so this is my first option, so that when Miss Cole calls out, Babe Zacharias, and that's my turn, I can stay seated, I have my props ready to go, and I will just start looking at my notes. Hi, my name is Mildred Didrison Zacharias. I was born in 1911 in Texas. As a young girl, I preferred to keep my hair short so that I could run and jump and race and play ball with the kids in my neighborhood. The kids began calling me Babe after I hit 5 home runs in one game. When I was young, there were not many opportunities for girls to play sports, but by the time I was 15, I was the highest scoring forward on the girls basketball team at my high school. In 1930, I was offered the chance to play for the Golden Cyclones, and I was All-American for 2 years. And then your second option is when I call your character's name and you want to stand up, that is fine. So if I call Babe Didrison Zacharias, you could stand up, move your chair out of your way, grab the props that you want, make sure your notes are handy, and go ahead and start. Hi, my name, see, that's a problem. I can't see my face. So you want to make sure that before you get started, you are in a good position. And this might be something that you want to practice before to make sure that's really going to be a good position for you to be in. Okay, so those are a couple of things to think about for preparing your presentation and how you want to present your character to us. I know it's looking a little bit different, but you guys have come up with fantastic ideas already, and so I cannot wait to see how this is all going to go. I've seen pictures already, and I am so excited. And friends, that wraps up our very last, kind of long, very last mini lesson in Writer's Workshop and Social Studies for 3rd grade. That is a very, very strange thought, and it's making me a little bit sad, but I am so proud of your hard work, and I cannot wait to see you all on Tuesday. As you work on making your notes and preparing Wax Museum and making your timeline today, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. We will also have our Zoom time office hours this Monday on 1:30 to 2. So if you're having any questions, that's a really good time to come and ask me, because I will be there and available to help you with anything you are struggling with or nervous about for our Wax Museum. Thank you for being patient. I know this was a little bit of a longer video, but I wanted to make sure I gave you as much information for a very big project tomorrow and you are as prepared as possible. I miss you guys. Happy Monday, happy last mini lesson, and I cannot wait for Wax Museum tomorrow. Bye guys.